All right, welcome back. In this video, we are going to do a practical implementation of whatever we have learned so far, right? So this is basically a mini project. So basically, it is a Python Flask-based application. You can find all the information regarding this project in this specific MD file, along with the GitHub link where the actual code is present. Okay, so here you will find all the overview, whatever things is required to get started with this project, right? Now here in the overview section, you can see what are the 5 to 6 steps that we are going to do in this specific stage in the Jenkins file. And also I have provided you the example file of Jenkins that you can use to utilize and to understand what actually has been happening. Let me help you to understand what actually this Jenkins file does. Okay, based on all the topics that we have covered so far. So the first thing is we have defined here the environment variables which we are going to use in this section, right? And here we made use of credential, that is the credential helper that we are going to make use of. Okay, here you will send your credential ID and here you will be passing your init name. Next, there are multiple stages, as in multiple steps that will be getting executed over here, out of which the first one would be to check out the code, second would be to install the dependency, third would be to run the test cases, fourth would be to build the Docker image, and then we are going to push it to the Docker Hub using the credentials which are stored in Docker Hub. Okay, now if you might be wondering about how does these variables come into action, here we made use of Stack Overflow. I will share you that documentation also so that it will be easier for you to understand where those values are actually coming from. And then the last stage would be to deploy it to the stage where we are actually going to see how does it look like into the action. Okay, so these are the things that you will be seeing over here. And if you click on this specific link which is given over here, that is under the project link, it will redirect you to this specific repository where the actual code of the Flask application is actually present. Okay, now here you can see entire thing is present over here. Now I will explain you how does this code works like. Okay, and here in the bottom you can see the folder structure. Okay, in the parent root folder you will find app.py, docker file, Jenkins file, requirement.txt where the dependencies are mentioned, readme.md file, and there are few templates, the HTML file which is being used for rendering, and there are few static files that are being used over here. Okay, now, the initial thing is that is a requirement.txt. So this is the actual place where the requirement has been mentioned. And here we are going to make use of class. So here I have written class 303 and that is the actual requirement for running this application. Under app.py, you will find the entire code that is been rendered over here. Okay. And at the bottom, you will find this specific section. Okay. Under main where we are actually trying to help it to understand, okay, where what is the host and under which port it is going to run. So for in order to run this application, you need to expose port number 5000. Okay, now here comes the Jenkins file. So it is the same Jenkins file which I just explained you right now. Okay, no changes over here. And then here is the Docker file. Now what this Docker file does, here we are going to make use of a Slim image. Now, what is a Slim image? Basically, it is a condensed image that you are going to use for running this application. And here we define the work directory. We are copying all the requirement file into the working directory. And then we are going to install using the Python package manager. Then whatever is present in the current folder, we are going to forward it to the working directory. And then we are going to expose port number 5000 and then the Python application is going to run. Now, if you see the template section, these are the basic HTML file which are going to be rendered, okay, while the application is being hosted. And here you'll find the static file, that is the images that we are going to use, and along with the style.css file. So this is the basic structure of the folder. Okay, let me help you to run this application in local, and then we are going to run this in the AWS cloud using the Jenkins file. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to launch VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code, and let me open it. So it is stored in my desktop and it is by the name Flask Portfolios. Okay. Now here you can see the application is there. So everything is actually ready. This application is ready. If you want to create your own application, feel free to create your own application. You can use a chat GPT, you can make use of Grok, you can make use of REPL IP. Okay, either ways your main focus should be to automate it, right? And how do we automate it? We need something to run, right? So that's the application that is being created using chat GPT and Grok. Okay, now as per the Docker file which we just read right now, in order to run this application, you need to run Python followed by app.py. Now see, since this is my local, I have installed all the dependency. Now in this case, it will run for sure. Okay. Now I'll go to my browser and here I'll just run localhost and the port number is 5001 in my case. And this is how the project looks like. Okay. If you go over here, subscribe on my YouTube channel, it will actually redirect you to my YouTube channel. Okay. Now, if you go back, if you click on connect on LinkedIn, it will forward you to my LinkedIn page. Okay. So this is my LinkedIn page. If you want to connect, you can just send a request over here and feel free to connect. I will be able to help you out in that. Okay. Now, if you go back here, you will find the Jenkins playlist. Okay. If you click on Jenkins playlist, the current playlist which you're watching is actually present over here. And the best part is if you want to learn from here, okay, the best part would be you will be able to learn here, that too without any interruption, that too without any advertisement. All if you click over here, you can actually access any lecture. Okay, you can actually access any lecture over here. Okay, and yeah, you can click on go back. If you want to refer the Docker playlist, it will works like the same. Just click on play and you can just go on it. Okay, if you go back, I can show you the GitHub playlist. This is the 6 hour long playlist that we have created. Go back to home and here you can click on AWS playlist. Here we have recorded 11 lectures so far, and that will help you to understand what actually AWS is. Okay, so that is the general look and feel of the project that we are going to deploy using Jenkins in today's video. Okay, let me close it. All right, so the first thing that we are going to do is, okay, let me just turn off it on local and I'll just close the Visual Studio Code. All right, let us go back and here let me log into my Jenkins account. Okay, so the first thing would be we are going to create a pipeline. Okay, I already explained you how does the Jenkins pipeline looks like. Okay, so the first thing would be here, are we going to use a declarative pipeline or scripted pipeline? So write down the answer in the comments. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the dashboard. Okay, and the first thing, the first validation check that we have to do is that is credential ID. Okay, that will create an issue because in my Jenkins ID, in my Jenkins, I have explicitly hard coded the Jenkins ID, the Docker Hub ID that we have created while actually adding it into the credential helper. But I will help you in that same, and how to replace it. That is also we are going to cover in this specific segment. Now, the first thing would be we are going to create a new job for it. Okay. Now I will name it as Flask Folio. This would be a pipeline. I'll click on OK. I'll go back to the portfolio and copy the link. And here scroll down. And here we are working on a GitHub project. Okay. So scroll down. And second thing would be the definition. The pipeline script or pipeline script from SKM. So basically we want to take it from the source code manager. Okay. And the source code manager here would be Git. Okay. And the path is the root path. Here I'll provide the repository URL. Now, is credential required in this section? No, because this is a public repository. So you do not need to pass any credential. Scroll down. Now it is asking you for the branch. I'll go back to the repository and check whether it is a main branch or a master branch. In our case, it is master branch. So leave the settings by default and click on apply and save. Okay. The main thing is done. Now the second thing would be, let us run this job. Okay. And see what sort of error are we getting. We did not install anything on our NC2 instance. Okay. So technically we are expecting an error and this is something what we want. Okay. So if you scroll down here, it is saying, okay, masking supported pattern matches of Docker credentials and Docker PSW. Okay. Now, if I go back to my Flask in the Jenkins file, here you will notice something new. That is in the environment section, I passed something called Docker Hub. That is my ID, credential ID for Docker Hub account. I'll go back to Flask Folio. Okay. And here I'll go to settings. Under credentials, I will check what is the ID given to the Docker Hub. So it is Docker VT caps and H caps. Okay. So the initial thing is correct. I'll go back to the Flask Folio. I'll scroll down. And here, what are the things that we are doing? Here, we are actually passing the credentials. Okay. at runtime. Now, how did I came to this conclusion? Basically, I followed this documentation where actually he is passing the credentials using the credential manager, that is that too as an variable. Now here the variable, the ID of Docker Hub was stored in this specific segment. Okay, that is this was the ID in Stack Overflow case. But in our case, if you see Docker Hub credential, you can see it is this place where we are storing our Docker Hub credentials. Okay, now let us go back to Jenkins and we'll go to Flask Folio. I'll go to configure again and let us understand what actually this log is trying to explain us. It actually captured the last commit, that is update Jenkins file. Okay. See, here the thing is, it is saying pip3 install break system package on Flaskget. It is saying pip3 is not found. Okay, so since this is the very first time we are running this application, dependency are not present. That is the reason it threw the error. So I'm going to my console, and the first thing that I'm going to use it, I'll just search pip3 hyphen version. But since it is not installed, it is saying pip3 not found. And in order to install it, just run this command apt install pip. Okay, let me do it. Now it will satisfy all the requirement that is actually needed. Now see, it is saying fail to fetch. So in order to do that, the first thing that you will have to do is you will have to update your system. So just run apt update. Okay, now whenever you are getting such sort of error, the first thing that you have to do is you have to update the system, and then you will be able to update the libraries. So that is the basic funda whenever you are getting that source error. Okay, now again I am going to run that command. Okay, and it will install pip3 in my system. So let us wait for some time in order to install all the packages that is required to run this application. Okay. Okay. Now, once the package was installed, it is actually restarting all the services which are required or which is actually affected by it. So it will also restart the service, and I think it will also restart Jenkins at the same time. So let us wait for some time. Okay. All right. Now let me run pip 3 hyphen version to check the current version of pip, and it is actually showing me the package name. Okay. Now I'll go back to Flask Folio. Now see, it restarted the service. That's the reason we have to log in again. Okay, no problem. Now again, I will trigger the job and let us see what error we are getting this time. Okay. Okay. See, this time the job is running fine without any error. Okay. Now let us see what sort of error or the things that we will be encountering this time. So it is tagging, it is pushing the image, and see, the thing is the deployment is success and the application is running in port 5000. Okay, here we are getting build test and deployment successfully. If I go back to the job, here you can see entire thing ran successfully. The main thing that we did is we installed the package in the master node. Okay, the same thing you can do on the worker node itself. Instead of writing agent any, you can actually allocate a specific agent in this specific segment. Okay, so that only the application which requires Python or pip3 dependencies, it will run on those machines. But since this is just for learning purpose, we are running everything on master node. Okay, now see, after everything is done, it actually printed one message. Okay, that is the build test and deployment is success. Now you are good to go and you should be able to access the application. Now it is running on port number 5000. Okay, I'll go back to instances. I'll copy the public IP and I'll try to see what actually I am getting on the screen. http:// followed by port number 5000. Okay. Now see, it is taking much time to load. Why? Because in AWS, in the security, we didn't enable port number 5000. Okay, so I will go back to security groups, and in the under security groups inside the inbound rule, I'll add one more rule for port number 5000. and it will actually allow us to see the page that we are currently hosting. Okay. Now I'll click on save. Okay, and it actually updated, and here you can see our page is live. Okay, now it was working very good on local. Is it working the same way in this machine? So let us test the same. I'll click on subscribe on YouTube. It is actually redirecting to my YouTube channel. Okay, I click on connect on LinkedIn. It is actually redirecting me to my LinkedIn account. Okay, links are working fine. Now is it working fine with the videos as well? See, it is working very fast and very fine. So I'll click on play, and you can see the video actually played. It works fine as it is expected. I'll click on go back. So this is the basic thing that this application is supposed to do. Okay, I'll click on play and everything will working fine. All right. Now, this was the project that I wanted to tell you, and I hope that you learned from this specific project. And if you want to access this project, basically you can actually go directly to my GitHub repository, and you can find the project name Flask-Folio. Okay. But if you are following this playlist, you just have to go to Jenkins tutorial, and here you'll find subdirectory number 8, that is project 1 Flask application. And here you'll find entire thing, also the project name. If you click on it, it will redirect you to the Flaskfolio repository, right? Yeah, so I hope this video added learning to your video. Also, there is one more catch. Now, based on the current Jenkins file, what will happen if I re-execute it once again? Now see, the first thing that we did is we executed in port number 5000. Now what will happen if you re-execute this pipeline? Okay, that is something I want you to try at your end, and the answer is very easy, and that you should be able to figure out, right? So yeah, that was all, and I will again see you in the next video where we are going to again implement or learning on one React bid application. And yeah, that was all in this specific segment in this video, and I will see you in the next one.